Hey, Wire Monkeys, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Cabling. This episode, we're going to document somebody's journey to get their RCDD. Welcome to the show where we tackle the tough questions submitted by installers, estimators, project managers, ICT personnel, and even customers. We're connecting at the human level so that we can connect the world. If you're watching this show on YouTube, would you mind hitting the subscribe button and the bell button to be notified when new content is being produced? If you're listening to us on one of the audio podcast platforms like Apple or Stitcher or Google, would you mind leaving us a 5-star rating? Those simple little steps helps us take on the algorithm so we can educate, encourage, and enrich the lives of people in the ICT industry. Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What are you doing? I do a live stream on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and a bunch of other places where you get to ask your favorite RCDD, you know that's me, your questions on installation, certification, design, project management, even career path questions. But I can hear you now. But Chuck, I'm driving my truck at 6 p.m. on Thursday. I'll get in now. I don't want to crash. I got you covered. They're recorded and they're put on the webpage at letstalkcabling.com. And finally, while this show is free and will always remain free, if you find value in this content, will you click on this QR code right there? You can buy me a cup of coffee. You can schedule a 15-minute one-on-one call with me, after hours, of course. And also, we're looking for corporate sponsors. So if your company's values align with educate, encourage, and enrich, and you can operate in an agnostic platform, give me a holler on social media. Let's make this work. So like I said in the introduction, I'm friends with a lot of people. I have friends that I've met, friends that I haven't met, but they're still friends to me. And I've been wanting to do for a while an episode on, I wanted to document somebody's journey on their way to get the RCDD, because one of the things I always hear is, but Chuck, it's so hard. Yes, it's designed to be hard, right? If anybody could do it, then there'd be a whole bunch of RCDs out there and it would devalue that certification. It's not going to be the easiest thing to do, but I wanted to document it because yes, it's not the easiest thing. There are some hoops you got to jump through, but in the end, it's going to be worth it. So the person that I picked is someone who interacts with a lot of my social media posts on LinkedIn. And him and I have exchanged messages before, and he's asked me some questions and stuff like that. So he mentioned he's taking his RCDD. He's like, that's the person I want to talk to. That's the person. I already knew it. I just knew it as soon as he came up. So welcome to the show, Michael Makupa. How you doing, my friend?
Thank you, Chuck. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I'm glad to have you on the show, my friend. Like I said, we've talked many times through the keyboard, right?
Absolutely. I think it's been over a year now.
Yes.
Closely.
So why don't you go ahead and tell the audience, what's your background like?
So, as you said, my name is Michael Makupa, originally from Southern Africa, right across the other side of the world. Migrated to Canada in 2014, now Canadian and Zambian. Currently a licensed network cabling specialist, which is what you see behind me there. Mm-hmm. It's a license that is run through the government of Ontario here in Canada and IBEW. So I'm a licensed network cabling specialist. I recently completed my apprenticeship about 2 years ago now. And I'm also a certified fiber optic technician with the FOA, Fiber Optic Association.
Nice.
And currently an RCDD aspirant.
Yes. I know. I'm so excited for you, man. I'm so excited to be part of this journey. I'm so glad you're allowing me and my audience members to be a part of this journey, right? So tell me first off, how did you first learn about the RCDD?
So RCDD is something I learned actually through one of my biggest mentors, His name is Bradley Watt, an RCDD, who you may or may not have met. He's been an RCDD since 1997, I believe. So Brad has been my foreman on a lot of jobs, right, throughout my apprenticeship. We became friends outside of work as well. And I just had an admiration for his, his level of expertise. And I was like, that's where I want to go with my career. I want to be, a competent person in this industry. So I asked Brad a lot of questions about RCDD and what it took. And, it's something I just put in the back of my wallet, wrote it on a piece of paper. Like, hey, maybe one day that's what I want to be. So that's how it all started. And once I got my NCS, I always have a hunger to learn more. I was like, you know what? I think now's the time to get that RCDD. I do have quite a big network of colleagues, friends, people like you. You're one of the people I asked about it. You're like, go for it, Mike. Everybody I asked was like, just do it. It's something that you're not gonna regret.
Yep.
And I was actually at the cottage when I decided to. Everybody was like getting ready for dinner. I was like on the computer, just trying to get this application in. Like, what's going on? They're like, nope, I'm doing it, and I'm doing it now, and just got this off my chest, and glad I did it.
Yeah, it's my career. I was just telling somebody this in the Facebook group earlier today, or maybe it was last night, because somebody asked about the RCDD or the BICSI tech certification, and was it worth it? And I was like, yes, yes. My career shifted into second gear, overdrive,
Right.
even as soon as I got that, right? Because people look at you differently when you have that certification. For me, the flip side was, I don't mean to scare you away from it, but when I passed my test, I was like, oh my God, now people are going to ask me questions and they're going to expect me to know the answers, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're an RCDD, you should know this.
You
Well,
should
I
know
learned the
everything.
phrase pretty quickly. There's 2,000 pages in the TDMM. I can't remember every single page, but I'll get that information for you if you really like it. Right?
Exactly. That's how I always look at it too. Like, I won't know everything. I'll know where to find it. And if it's not right, because I've probably seen it, I'll be able to know the difference, right? Like,
so the gentleman that you mentioned, is he still help mentoring you through this process as well?
yes, absolutely. I'm actually meeting him for dinner this Friday.
Nice. Well, make sure you
Telling
tell
him
him I
about,
said hello.
I certainly will.
Yeah, I don't know if I know him or not, because I know a lot of RCDDs, but I can't remember everyone I know. But
Yeah.
what the heck? Two mentors mentoring the same person. I like it. I like it. So you learned about the RCD through your mentor, right?
Yes.
What was the driving force that made you say, you know what, I need to do this?
I guess just the pursuit and hunger for more. Like, I look at our industry and I'm like, we don't really have that standardization across the board, right? But it all starts with having competent people, from installers to project managers, so like, I'm gonna be part of the solution by empowering myself first, and then see who else that inspires, and take it from there.
Mm-hmm. I know you're going to inspire a lot of people in this journey. I know you are, because, like I said, I see your posts and stuff, and I could tell from the first time that I saw your LinkedIn profile and how you would answer some of my questions stuff. It's like, this guy gets it. He's a continuous learner, and that's, if you want to succeed in the ICT industry, you don't have to know everything. You don't even have to be the best. You just have to be a continual learner. That's the key. Because
Absolutely.
exactly, because the way that we did cabling 40 years ago when I first got in this industry, is not the same way we're doing cabling today.
Right.
And if I'd still be putting in twin-ax, coax and type 1 cabling, I wouldn't
Mhm.
have a job, right? Because
Exactly. Yeah.
nobody's doing that stuff anymore, right?
No, no.
So where are you in the process right now? So have you filled out your application already?
Yes. So I actually did my application back in September, about the first week of September.
That's right. Because you and I first started talking about back then. We've been
Yeah.
doing the whole email, social media exchange, trying to coordinate schedules and finally get you on the show. So you filled out your application. Okay. So did you do that online or did you fill out the paper and send it to them?
I did that online. First thing I did was download the RCDD Handbook.
Version 14?
Yes, version
Yes.
14. Yep. So looked at kind of looked at the eligibility, just make sure I was eligible before I actually started investing time and money into this. And yeah, I collected all my certifications and my qualifications, made a little package. I tried to keep them organized so it wasn't that hard of a task for me. I digitized everything, just looked at what I had, made up a little package, and took it from there. Just submitted everything online.
So it was online. Was it an easy process? Was it intuitive?
It was fairly easy. It was pretty straightforward, I would say. Like for me, I've always been a BICSI member actually. Even when I was doing my apprenticeship, I was an apprentice BICSI member. So I already had an account. I was already sort of familiar with navigating the BICSI website, but it's fairly easy, yeah. Fairly easy.
So the reason that's why I asked it, because there might be somebody who might be a little bit older than you who might struggle with, they do the 2-finger typing, right? Where they're like
Right.
that, and they might be a little slower. That's why I was curious, because when I filled out my RC application, I had to go get a boulder from the backyard and a hammer and a chisel, and I had to
Oh,
chisel it out, and then I had to roll it downhill to the big
right.
city.
Just roll it down.
Well, obviously I'm exaggerating because we know
Yeah.
it wasn't on a boulder. It was, it was done via fax. But
Maybe sent by Dove.
Chuck is old. Chuck is old. Hey, what can I say? Then what can I say?
Yeah.
So there are 3 ways that you can qualify for sitting for the RC exam. And by the way, if you are, for those who are listening to the show and you're thinking this is interesting, I might want to do this, I highly and Mike has already talked about it. The RCDD Handbook. Just do a Google search, RCDD Handbook. Just make sure you look at version 14. It'll list those 3 different ways that you can qualify for the exam. It'll tell you why you should get your RC exam. It'll tell you, it'll actually even break down the exam a little bit too and tell you which areas you're gonna have questions from. It'll give you some suggestions
Yeah.
for studying
It,
tips, and it
yeah.
is a great free resource. That's the key there. It's free.
It is. I actually use it as my study guide because it has everything. It's broken down in percentages, so you know which area is going to have most of the questions, and I can kind of ask myself those questions and be like, oh, do I know the answers to that, right?
So I do remember reading in it that they ask for a copy of your resume. Did you send a copy of your resume to them as part of the application process?
So they did not require a resume per se.
Okay.
The online form is kind of in a resume format, sort of.
Gotcha.
So it does have section where you have your work history, your educational background. So essentially, it's like you're filling out your resume, right?
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay, gotcha. So you said you filled your resume, you'd filled out your application 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, something like that. Have you? I'm sure you probably had to put down references and stuff as well. Has BICSI followed up on your references to make sure, or have any of your references said, "Hey, they called me"?
That's one question I actually didn't ask any of my references. They got BICSI got back to me fairly quick. So within about a week of my application, I had heard back. They said you were successful.
Wow.
They gave me a year from the date. I believe it was September 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So I have until September 4th, 2024 to write my exam, which is another thing that can lead to procrastination because they give you so much time. So immediately I saw that, I kind of gave myself a very tighter timeline just so I could push my study, right? Like if I don't feel ready, I can always extend it, but I'm gonna make it.
We're gonna talk about that more in just a minute. You said something about you had organized all your certificates and stuff like that. Did you have to send copies of your certificates over as part of that application?
Yes, so they did ask. There's a section where they do ask for you to upload proof of stuff that you had listed. So I'm always doing a lot of certs. Like I'm constantly learning. I'm always redoing my CommScope stuff, my Belden, Corning. The IBW has night classes, 3 night classes. So I'm always doing a lot of stuff. So that was kind of, I had that at hand and it was easy to, and most of our courses are all like BICSI recognized. You actually get the BICSI credits for them. So
yeah, I would probably it doesn't sound like I'm as organized as you are because I would probably be struggling to find copies of all my certificates. Just ask my wife. She's been asking me for this document that I had notarized like 5 weeks ago for this thing built on the back of the property. And I just gave it to her yesterday. 5 weeks. It's been sitting in my truck. 5 weeks.
Yeah,
and
that's another thing I learned from my mentor, Brad. He used to have what he calls the Brad book. Like he would pull it out and it has all his certification from 1947. Just kidding, Brad.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He called you old. I heard him. I got my RCD in 1999.
So I kind of picked that up from him as well. I keep my my book.
And so let me ask you this: so there's fees, right? You have to pay the application fee. You have to pay the exam fee. If you fail the exam, you got to pay the exam retake fee. Are you footing this yourself, or is your company paying you to do that?
So initially, my company was willing to do it. They didn't give me a timeline. And I was like, well, this is my certification. I want it. I'll probably put in more time and effort when I'm using my own resources. So I just went for it myself.
That says a lot about the certificate, how much that certification means to you, because a lot of people want to get certified, but they're not willing to shell out their own money to go do it. And again, that RCD handbook will give you all those fees and explain all that stuff for you. But that's good for you, man. The good thing is once you get your RCDD, you won't be tied to anybody. I mean, that happens a lot when companies pay for the application and exam fee and maybe whatever courses they might take as well. A lot of times they make them sign training agreements, so they're stuck with that company. So I mean, I don't know if you're gonna I don't even know if you're going to stay with the company or not stay with the company. But what I'm saying is, for someone who's looking to get the certification, at least now they won't be tied to that, if that makes sense, right?
Right.
And that just kind of goes to show you just how much it how much it means to you. And you already answered my next question was how long did it take you to get approved? Once you submit your application, you said it was like a week, I think, right? A week or 10 days, or
just about a week or so. Yeah,
gotcha,
roughly.
gotcha. Yeah. So now that you got your approval, right? What plans have you done or thought about for studying? What to get done to make sure you read through all the way through the book to be able to take your test?
Yeah, so starting to study was pretty hard in the beginning. Like obviously it's like a big 2000 and something page like manual. I did have the the ITSIM from which I got through the IBW trade school program. And I'll use that occasionally to answer your questions out of my studying.
That's how you know all the answers. So, by the way,
Yeah.
for those who are listening, the ITSM is the Information Transport Systems Installations Methods Manual. That's another BICSI best practice. That one's actually geared more towards installation than it is towards designs. But there is some crossover between the ITSM
Yeah.
and the TDMM. But if you're trying to study for your RCDD, you want to be focused on that TDMM, the Telecom Distribution Methods Manual. It's not going to hurt you to read through the ITSM, but trust me, when you read through, as Mike pointed out, all 2,000 pages, especially that first chapter, Principles of Transmission. That makes my head hurt just thinking about that chapter, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh man, is this like trying to be a physicist here?
Right. And because I've run, I think 3 or 4 RCD study groups, and I tell you what, that first chapter causes more people to drop out than anything because people read through that and I go, oh my God, I got to know all this stuff. And
yeah, so for that, I kind of gave myself just a timeline. I was like, I'm gonna read this number of pages. I gave myself, I think, about 2 weeks or something like that, 2 to 3 weeks. I divided the number of pages by the timeline and set reminders. I always have reminders on my phone, BICSI page read. So I just always read a page. I got through it, started the next chapter. But as I kept going, I was like, okay, this is kind of, I was still finding it hard to read. Like I'm kind of a person who learns by being like reading and getting challenged, kind of.
Right.
So looked up the BICSI actually has flashcards for the TDM.
Yes, I've got a set.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get these 2.
Yep.
And kind of help me, like, they kind of reinforce my reading.
Right.
And also it highlights what I should be more focused on.
Right.
So
what I usually recommend, what I usually recommend for people, you get that year, right? Once you get approved by the application, you get a year. And I usually recommend to people, and this is just my recommendations. You ask 10 different RCDDs, you'll get 12 different recommendations. This is just the Chuck Bowser recommendation.
Okay? I did.
Take it for what that's worth. So my suggestion is pick a date that you want to take that test. And it sounds like to me like you've already picked your date. And also give yourself time. So I mean both ways, right? So if you think, okay, I'll be done, I'll have this book completely read in 6 months, schedule your test at 7 months. Okay? Because long term, now life will happen, right? People get married, people have babies, family members die, you get sent on out of town projects. Life happens. It just does. I've seen this through 4 study groups. It happens. Give yourself a little extra time, but keep in the back of your mind that you got to leave some time on the back side of that in case you don't pass that test, because you got to wait 30 days to retake that test, right? So pick that date. Once you pick that date, pay for the test. Because what that does is, number one, now you got skin in the game, right? If I paid for this test, it'd be taken in 6 months, and oh my gosh, here I am 4 months, and I got 2 months left to study, and I've only read through a third of the book, right? You got skin in the game. That's going to force you to do that, right? It's going to get you focused and get you through that. So, and then once you pick that time frame, what I did with mine was I just divided out the number of days between the time I started my studying to the time I was going to take the test. And I took off Sunday, so 6 days a week times whatever week. I divided that number into the pages, so I know that every day I had to read X number of pages. So that way you can always tell if you're ahead or behind. right? Because I even did a little spreadsheet chart. I love spreadsheets. I'm
Oh,
I'm one of them kind of geeks, right? So I had a little spreadsheet, week 1, week 2, week 3, and I'd beat this spot. So that way I always knew if I was ahead or behind. So if I got behind because, I don't know, I was working overtime on a project somewhere, I knew,
mhm.
okay, I'm 20 pages behind. If I read an extra page a day, I'll be caught up in 20 days, right? Just helps you get caught up. It really does. Let me ask you this: are you doing this all on your own, or are you forming a study group? Have you joined a study group? What's your process here?
So I've actually just been doing this by myself, but I do have resources, people that I'm able to reach out to. And there's actually a very good group on Reddit that your name actually pops up quite a few times on.
That's a problem because that's like one of the social media platforms I am
Yeah,
not on. I,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
I am on there, but it's not like all the other social medias where I'm posting daily. I haven't
right.
posted in like 5 months.
Yeah. Anyways, that group has quite a bit of RCDDs that have been going through the process.
Right, right,
Each one of them share their journey, their stories, the
right.
resources they use, which is like really great. So I'm able to get some ideas and tips from everybody.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So the reason I asked about a study group is, people who really excel as installers and technicians are usually tactile learners, meaning they really learn when they put their hands on stuff, right? They
Right,
learn better. You do pick up, you absorb 30% of the stuff when you read it. You absorb 70% of the stuff if you read it and then put your hands on it, right? And that's why I always recommend a study group. And here's the beautiful thing. Yes, I do study groups, but I just finished one literally like last week. I am not doing another study group until next year, till Q1 next year, actually. But you can start your own study group. You can create your own little, your thing on Discord. You can just you're on,
right.
I know you're on LinkedIn. You can hop on LinkedIn and say, hey guys, look, I want to do an informal study group. And here's the time frame. And the reason I say you should do that, it's like it creates an accountability group, right? So now
Right.
if you decide you want to meet on Mondays at 5 p.m. or whatever daytime you guys pick, when you go there on Monday 5, you're going to have a group of other knowledge hungry RCDD want to get their certification and say, hey, did you do your reading?
Exactly.
You're going to be
Yeah.
more apt to get your reading done if you know somebody's going to ask you, did you do
Right.
your reading? And one thing I've learned over the years of being a student and also being an instructor is your learning increases when you interact with other people on the same journey, right? Because
Right.
I can read a paragraph out of the TMM. You can read a paragraph out of the TMM, same paragraph, and then your mentor can also read a paragraph, and all three of us will pull away three different things out of that. And
Right.
through discussion, you'll gain a better understanding. That's why I highly recommend always do. That's why I always recommend do a study group. It doesn't have to be a paid study group. You can create. Matter of fact, the my BICSI mentee last year.
Mhm.
Uh, she became my mentee after we were like halfway through a study group, and I said,
Okay.
"Look, I don't want to bring you in the middle of the group because we're already halfway through it. You're gonna miss the whole first half of it, and we're. But when I told her, I said, start your own study group. And that's exactly what she did. She went to Discord, she
Mhm.
created a thing, and boom, they went through it and she got her RCDD. Right.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
so yeah, definitely consider doing a study group. Definitely consider a study group.
Uh,
Yeah.
very interesting. That's definitely
Yeah.
something.
Absolutely. And
Then,
it's funny that you tell me that my name pops up on Reddit.
yeah, multiple times.
Yeah. That cracks me up. That cracks
Yeah,
me.
that this podcast is really helping open people up. It's good. Great,
that
great stuff.
that's why I do it. I do it for people like you. And here's what I'm going to do for you, Mr. Mike. So as part of my RCD study group, I do have practice exams, right? And they're based on the chapters. The practice exam questions are not, I'm going to say that again, are not duplicates of what you're going to find in the RCD program. I'm in the RCD test. I don't have access to those test questions. And even if I did, I wouldn't give them out to people because I had to learn the hard way. You got to learn the hard way. But they're questions that'll help you gauge how well your reading's going, if that makes sense, right? I will give you access to those practice exams for your journey to help you go along with it. And you already know you can shoot me a message. You can always text message me or send me a message on LinkedIn, and if you have a question, and you also have a mentor there. So I want to see you through this journey, and I want to follow back up with you again after you take your test. You up for that?
Absolutely.
All right. Hopefully it's going to be good news. But even if you don't pass, I still want to do it because many people don't pass that test on their first time. And you're looking at one right now. It took me 2 attempts to get my RCDD. So even if you fail, I still want to have you on because there will be people who don't pass their first time. So that's going to help them understand it's not the end of the world if you don't pass it your first time around. I got a feeling though, just based on how little I know you already, I have a feeling. My money says you're going to pass on that first step.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
For that confidence in me.
Yeah, there you go.
So let me thank you so much for questions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So is there anything that you might want to tell somebody who might be listening to this episode right now about what you've gone through so far chasing the RCDD?
The RCDD is scary, right? When you first even when you just look at the handbook and the stuff it talks about, but it's something that can be done. It can be done by anyone. It can be done by a technician like me. It can be done by somebody from the office. You just have to break it down and into smaller pieces and tackle it a day at a time. Like anyone can do it. Just it takes time and commitment. Like it requires a lot of commitment. It's not easy, but so far it has been worthwhile, and I'm looking forward to continuing this journey.
Yes. One other thing that I hear quite often, because like I said, I've through the 4 study groups I've done so far, the thing I hear consistently from people who are studying for the RCD exam, even if they don't pass the exam, just reading through the TDMM has helped them become more proficient and more knowledgeable in their job.
Absolutely. That's something actually I was going to add. Like even at this stage, from what I've studied, I've been studying now for about 2.5 months or so, but it's just made me so much more knowledgeable, right? Like I'm able to help others with questions even at work. Like it's something I plan to keep doing. Like it's not like you write your exam, get your RCDD and sit back. Like you said, our world is changing every day, right? You gotta stay on top of it.
I appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm looking forward to talking to you after you take your test.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Chuck. It was a pleasure.
Now, I hope you listened to that episode, and I hope that if you've been on the fence, that it inspires you. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's a journey. It's a long journey. But think of it, there's an old adage in the project management world. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's what this process is. It's going to be a long, hard journey, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. Make sure you tune back in when I post the episode, when I interview Mike again about his exam. Until next time, knowledge is power.
That's it for this episode of today's podcast. We hope you were able to learn something. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Also, leave a rating so we can help even more people learn about telecommunications. Until next time, be safe.